I've had someone just tell me, I don't want your level of accountability. I'm older and I just want to, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. I'm a believer. My favorite passage is Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good. So I believe that for my life. So from the military to the coaching to the ministry to what I'm doing now, it's all working for me, right?
Welcome to a private conversation with me, Steve Robbins. I'm sitting down with some of the biggest names in Indianapolis real estate. I've enjoyed these conversations immensely, and I hope you will too. A big thank you to Executive GM Ian Soroyan and his whole team for hosting us at Cunningham Restaurant Group's Commission Row and Mel Speakeasy, located in downtown Indianapolis within the Pacer Sports and Entertainment Complex. Check out the show notes to learn more. And now, my conversation with a fast-rising star in real estate, the team lead for Timeko and Associates Realty Group, Timeko Whitaker.
You've been with FC Tucker since, when did you get your license again?
7 years ago.
Okay.
It was 7 years this month.
And I don't remember, you might have told me in the past, but I don't remember why you chose real estate or how real estate came to be.
I had been in the military. And then
I'm going to ask you about that.
Yeah, been in ministry and all that. So just was like, well, if I were taken out of here right now, what would I have regrets that I didn't do?
Okay.
And that was it. It was like, I want to do that. So that's kind of what that was.
How did the idea even come to you? Did you know anyone in real estate?
Well, because being in the military, my then at the conference, he was my trainer.
Okay.
He retired, and then he started real estate. So he sold me like 3 or 4 houses. And I'm looking at those checks. The whole time he's like asking me, you really should do this. You really should do real estate. I'm like, that's 100% commission. That's a big risk. And I said, okay, let me try it. And then my daughter, she really encouraged me.
Okay.
I said, should I continue to travel and speak and train in schools with bully prevention? Or should I do real estate? She's like, Mom, you need to do real estate. And I'm like, okay.
Well, and how long did it take before you felt like you made the right decision? Immediately? Or, because it's, most people it's not.
Yeah. I would say about 6 months.
Okay.
6 months in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 4 months, nothing happened, no business. I'm like, this was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. I left a job making pretty good money to do this, but yeah. And then after that 4 months, things started happening and
it took off from there.
Yeah.
How'd you end up at Tucker?
Well, I really initially was going to do Keller Williams because when I interviewed for both, I just liked the feel that I got with Keller Williams.
Okay.
The interview went a lot smoother, but Tucker, because my former trainer was at Tucker.
Okay.
That was why Tucker was an option because he was there and I was like, okay, I would be on his team. And, so I told him, I said, I'm going to go with Keller Williams. I just like the feel. Feels right. And then the day before, I was like, I guess it is Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have not looked back since.
Good. Well, maybe let's back up before real estate. We'll come back to real estate. So, I had read in Real Producer magazine the cover story on you and the other 2 gentlemen that are in the military. But so you had joined the military when you were 17, is that right?
I did.
Well, that's pretty crazy, I think. But maybe it's...
I was trying to get on the fastest thing smoking out of Waterloo, Iowa. It's like, what? Where is that train? I need to get on. And that was it. I didn't grow up in a college-focused family. Financially and growing up in a single parent home. So we didn't discuss college a lot. And I can't even really recall having a lot of discussions or preparation even while in high school about college. And so that just was so far-fetched. My dad had been in the military, although it was just for maybe, I think he was like 4 or 5 years, still he had been there. I'm like, okay, maybe I can do that. And so, yeah. I said,
it was something in your head since you were younger?
It was. Okay. It was. And so I actually took the ASVAB test for the military like when I first became a senior in high school. And then I went into the delayed entry program. So I was already in like the beginning of my senior year. And so when I graduated, it was time. It's like, let's go. So I was ready.
And what branch?
Army.
Okay. And so where was basic training?
Basic training was at Fort Dix, New Jersey, which at the time they called it Fort Disney World because out of all of the installations and the training, that was supposed to be the easiest. But it wasn't easy to me.
I was gonna say, how easy was it?
My mom, if you were interviewing her right now, she was talking about it the other day. I remember you used to call me crying, Mom, I don't want to be here. I hate it here. You got to come and get me. She said, look at you now. And I was like, yeah.
What do you take away from the discipline you learned in basic training? Or how long is basic training?
Basic training at the time was 6 weeks. Yeah, at the time. And then you leave there and then you go to your advanced training, whatever your job was. At the time, I signed up for administration.
Okay.
So, and then I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I learned about paperwork and all that stuff. And so after that, my first duty station was Fort Rucker, Alabama. And that was a big difference from Waterloo, Iowa. So I'm like, this is different, but I really enjoy it. The people were super nice. The food was amazing. And so, yeah, I was at Fort Rucker, Alabama for a while, and then I wanted to be challenged. So there were a lot of men there that were going through air assault school.
Okay.
Because that was the home of aviation.
Okay.
So I'm like, I want to go to air assault school. I can do that. So I was one of the few women at that time that went through the training, and we had to do like a 12-mile road march in boots within 3 hours, and that's a pretty good pace. I mean, that was crazy. So did that, repaired our helicopters, I got my little wing. I was all proud. So, but that was my first duty station, Fort Rucker, Alabama. Then I left there and went to Korea.
Okay.
And that's when they had stop loss where the first, some things had broken out with the war and everything. And so I got stuck over in Korea should have been a 1-year tour. And I was over there for a year and a half. But it wasn't bad because it was a nice part of Korea and it was a lot of shopping.
Well, where about?
In Yongsan, Seoul, Korea. Yeah. So it was shopping going on and I could send my mom back clothes. And it wasn't bad. And then I left there and went to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Okay.
And spent some time there and then ended up going to recruiting school, Indianapolis, Indiana. And it was interesting because I was not supposed to be assigned to Indianapolis, Indiana. I was just here for the school because at the time Fort Harrison was open. And I had orders to go to Atlanta, Peachtree Recruiting Station, which I was young and hot. And I was like, this is going to be good. Yes, party. And when I got to school, the sergeant major who was over the academy, he was like, you'll do really well in Indianapolis. I'm like, no, I already have orders. I'm going to Hot Atlanta. I'm going to hang out there.
A lot more fun.
A lot more fun. The weather's great. And this was, to me, Indiana was like a larger Iowa.
Yeah.
Just Midwest. Where
I get it.
Yeah. So he was like, no, we're going to change those orders. You will be staying here. And I was so upset. I had such an attitude. I was like, I don't want to be here. But
how long ago was this?
This was years ago, man. This was like, I don't even know how many years I've been here. I think I've been here probably about 30 years. That's crazy.
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, but
Came here when you were 10?
I felt like it. Yeah. So yeah. So I was here and at station here, did recruiting. Was pretty successful in that. Thank God for that. And then they moved me to be in charge of the recruiting station that I was already recruiting in. But you should never do that. You should never put someone in charge of people that they work with. So now I have these guys. I'm the only woman, and these guys that are recruiters, and I'm a recruiter. We came up together, but now I'm their station commander. They didn't like that.
I'm sure.
Nothing they could do about it because it was the military. But we were pretty successful as a station. So that went well. And then I progressed and did professional recruiting. So I started out just doing regular high school recruiting. And then I did professional recruiting, doctors, dentists, attorneys, chaplains.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a little more exciting. Yeah.
And recruiting them into the Army?
Yeah.
I see. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that at all. So how does that why would what kind of doctor situation would they be in, I guess, where they would be in practice, or maybe they're out of residency. I don't know, but who's coming into the
a doctor who wants to get $240,000 student loan repayment.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, $60,000 cash bonus.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we have incentives, of course, because no one is just coming off the street saying, "Hey, I just want to be a doctor for the military." So
Right.
there's some people who have it at heart and they want to do it, but the incentives help.
Oh yeah.
So going to different medical schools and dental schools and just kind of recruiting them, sharing the information, and getting them to come in and come time with us. Yeah.
So how you talked about being a woman and of course managing the men that you had worked as colleagues with. How challenging is it being a woman in the military?
I think it just depends on what you're doing at that time in the military.
Yeah.
Initially, being administration, it wasn't challenging at all because a lot of women were in administration. So it was, we did, the admin work. But being in recruiting, where we had pretty much diverse men and women,
Mm-hmm.
being in charge of men, that was the challenge because some men just didn't want to listen.
Right.
And they just felt like they knew more and they couldn't get past the fact of a woman telling me what to do, which we still face that today. People don't want a woman to tell them what to do. Not everyone, but some don't.
Right.
The smart ones, they'll listen because it doesn't matter if it's a woman or man. It doesn't matter. If it's someone who knows what they're doing, who know how to get the end results, then you listen and let's all move forward.
I agree.
Yeah. But eventually, so it wasn't a huge struggle when I was in charge of men in the recruiting office because they didn't have a choice. So they had to deal with it.
Right.
I knew sometimes they would have a little bit of an attitude or whatever, but at the end of the day, it really pushed me to be my very best that I could be so that I could lead them properly and that whatever they thought, whatever they felt was not validated. That who I am and the, experience that I have, the drive that I have and all that, and the success would outweigh whatever they were dealing with, whatever their issues were.
Well, so you didn't make it to hot Atlanta and you ended up growing roots here in Indy.
Yes.
And so how much longer were you in the military doing recruiting before you wrapped up your military career?
Good question. So I recruited and, all the way up until I retired at age 37.
Okay.
I retired in, what year was that? 2007? I think it was.
Okay.
Something like that. But so I ended up retiring and then I still worked for the government. So they hired me back on as a contract recruiter. So I still did the same job, but as a contractor for the National Guard. So I stayed on for a while and did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so in between that and real estate, what was going on?
So ministry, at the time I was married. And so I was pastoring with my husband. We pastored a church. And of course, the commonality for me and everything that I've done is service. So as long as I'm serving, I'm good. So serving my country in the military, then progressing to serving the people in ministry and God's people. That was always amazing. Love that. Love just making a difference in the community, helping people be strengthening faith and things like that. So we did that for quite a while, actually for 10 years.
Okay.
And so at the end of that 10-year period, I started a coaching company.
Oh.
Again, serving people, helping people. So
Life coaching?
Life coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I retired from the military, from age 17 and being in the military, all I knew was what the military told me. Do this, say this, be here, do that. And that's kind of how it was. So when I retired from the military, I'm like, who am I?
Yeah.
And what do I want to do? So I hired a life coach.
Okay.
And so she helped me really identify more of who I am and my authentic self and what do I enjoy and things like that. And it was so many aha moments. I was like, oh my God, wow. And it was life transforming for me.
Well, what's an epiphany or two that you can share?
Basically, that is so much more out there. Again, being in the military, you kind of confined.
Yeah.
So, and you can only do so much. But basically, I think just knowing that there's an inner self that is screaming to get out just to be free, and just to do what you want to do, how you want to do it, and when you want to do it. And that was important to me, knowing that now I have the liberty to do whatever without constraints. So now I have to know how to balance that. Now I have to realize how much of that is just me being confined and restricted for years in this system of the military, which it worked for me.
Right.
But now I'm free. What do I do with this? So that aha moment of like, wow, I have options. I have choices. Like I could literally just do whatever I want to do, and I don't have to ask anyone.
Yeah.
So that, and then the other part of that was understanding, there's things that we can be passionate about. Like, what am I passionate about? And now how do I work and operate within that passion? And so, because when you're working in your area of passion, it's like nothing else really matters. Like time just stands still, right? Because you're just doing that thing. And so learning who I was, really being true to myself, and then now knowing I can operate in this passion and I can be free with it. Life, yeah, it was like, okay, this is like a whole new life. So that was pretty cool.
So how did the coaching, you're still coaching today, in different ways, but so tell me a little bit about your coaching career and being a life coach.
Absolutely.
How are you going about finding clients?
So at the time, I became a certified coach, but I also joined John Maxwell as well. I had two different coaching programs that I was really connected with because I wanted to maximize and I wanted to find clients, and I had to really identify, like, first of all, what I want to do with this. So initially, my company that I started is called Authentic Identity Coaching. And so my whole goal was to help people understand and, their authenticity, which is your purpose, your passion, your strengths, your personality, temperaments, and things like that. So what I did was I would really promote myself, and even back then, a lot on social media, and looking for people who were looking for themselves, like, trying to find themselves. And so that's what I would do in order to do that. And then the other aspect of that was, with the training part of it, really seeking out corporations that needed trainers to come in and help them with the personality assessments. I was certified in DISC.
Yeah.
So with the women that I were coaching and with teams and corporations, the DISC was, my main focus of helping with self-awareness.
And DISC, it's DISC. You want to tell us what that stands for?
Sure. So this DISC, there are 4 different dominant personality types. So these are the more the driven, dominating ones, which
what is your DISC profile?
Oh, DIC.
I'm a DC.
You're DC?
With a little a DCI.
Okay. See, DCI, I'm a DIC. So
Close.
Yeah, close. Yeah. So the D's are more dominant, right?
Yeah.
The I's are more influential. They're the ones that are outgoing. So let me go back to the D's. So the D's are dominant. They're the ones that are like natural born leaders. They like to be in charge. They're not easily intimidated. They like to set a plan and just go for it. The I's are more influential. They're the ones that kind of like to be seen. They happy-go-lucky, great, bold personality. They're influential. The S's are the ones that are more stable. They're more security. They don't like risk. They're more passive. And then you have the C's that are more calculating. They are kind of, I'm sorry? Conscientious, absolutely. They kind of think through things. Things have to make sense. So when people understand and identify where they are in the DISC profile, it helps them not only embrace who they are, but it also helps them, especially in customer service or relationships or clients. I can't just be who I am. I have to be who I need to be in order to be able to communicate effectively, get the job done with the person, identifying who you are so that together we can get the end results.
Yeah.
Which is important in marriages, right? With our children. And all different aspects.
So all your experiences lead up to this real estate career, and then starting a team. And walk me through a little bit about how you went from your first year in real estate, your first 4 months, you're questioning whether this is even going to be a thing.
Absolutely.
Which is normal.
Yeah.
And And then you make it, you turn it into a career. And what happened? Tell me about going from year 1 to year 2.
Absolutely. So the year 1, like I said, the first 4 months, nothing happened. I'm like, this is crazy. And then after that, things just started happening. Everything that I did just started paying off for me. I knew when I joined my mentor's team that I would have my own team, and he knew it as well. He's like, I'm not going to
So
be
he
a
was your
keeper.
mentor from the coaching or from what? How did you know him originally?
I knew him because he was in the military.
Oh, okay.
And he was a trainer.
You said a trainer. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So he was a trainer then, but he's also a mentor for me in real estate.
Yeah.
So yeah. So he knew, as he convinced me to come over to FC Tucker, he knew that I probably would not be on the team for long.
Sure.
And so I was on the team for a year. And after that 4 months, that fifth month hit, I started doing pretty well. I mean, I did pretty good numbers, that year. And so the second year, I just stepped out on my own as an independent agent, still with FC Tucker, because I knew that I made him a lot of money.
Right. That's the way it works.
It no longer made sense for me to be on the team. I'm like calculating, like, he got how much? But I'm very grateful. It was amazing, and he knew. So the second year, independent, and during that time, I was just really preparing myself or to become a team leader. So I started courting and really sitting down and having conversations with people that I felt I wanted on my team for that entire year. And then the third year, I actually started the team.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've had the team now. Yeah.
So was that an easy decision, or you had it in your head that was what was going to happen?
Super easy. If I'm not pouring into, if I'm not in some way serving, I'm not fulfilled. I could have remained just on my own, independent, and just, did well.
Yeah.
For me, I have to have someone to pour back into. And even in that, some of the people in my office are like, why are you doing that? Why do you have a team? You're doing most of the business. Da, 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 da. Why? Because it's just me. Like, I love it. And people need that extra help,
They do.
especially in real estate. You come out here as a solo agent in an office. If you don't connect with someone pretty quickly, you're going to find yourself gone back to doing whatever you were doing, because a lot of it is about relationships and accountability and things like that. And so my team hasn't been perfect. No, but it hasn't been bad at all. I mean, could it be better? I mean, we all have room for growth.
Well, and you've only had a team for how many years?
I've had a team now for 4 years.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
plenty of time for it to continue to grow and
Yeah.
be all the things that, what are your dreams for your team right now?
Actually, I am pretty comfortable with my team.
Good.
Like, I don't have these great, massive plans. What I would like to see over the next 4 years, though, is just for the self-sufficient, So, most of my team are part-time agents. And so what that means is I'm not going to see the production that I would see within a full-time agent. And I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Because if I get people like me, they're not going to stay on the team.
True.
So right now, for me, it's a win-win. So I just want agents on my team who are doing business, who need me to be able to just, hold them accountable, help them grow, and go from there. So
And the team, production-wise, you're in the 25 to 30 million range a year, or where are you guys?
Good question. So
right now.
right now we're at 21 million right now, and it's November, so we'll probably end about 23.
Okay.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah. And so 2025, what are you looking forward to there?
Oh, wow. It's going to be interesting, but our goal for 2025 will be within about 26 million.
Okay.
So we'll
So you already have a number.
I already have a number in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of the coaching, you were a life coach.
Yeah.
How are you parlaying that into what you're doing with your team today?
Absolutely. I still help them. Like I still train them on DISC. So they all know what their DISC profile is. Just that accountability. The biggest thing about coaching is holding people accountable, asking them what they want and then helping them identify how to get there and then holding them accountable to get there. Coaching is not that deep. It's really about accountability, right? And so helping them see this is the path. And then it has to be their path because I can't tell you what to do because you're not going to do what I say do. I mean, sometimes they will, but really it has to be your plan. And if I can help them identify how to develop a great plan that they can actually move forward within and then hold them accountable, then I feel like my coaching has been successful.
What kind of resistance are you seeing? Oftentimes with realtors, they kind of got into the business because they didn't necessarily want to be held accountable to anything.
Yeah.
It's particularly for their part-time.
Yes.
So how are you holding people accountable when maybe they don't want to be?
Yes. And I've seen that and some people have chosen to leave and that's okay because I love people. Whether you're on my team or not, we have to respectfully agree to disagree because this is what my expectation is. And I've had someone just tell me, I don't want your level of accountability. You know, I'm older and I just want to, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. And so there are certain things that I have in place, like that I expect. You know, I can't have requirements because they don't work for me.
Well, what are some expectations?
Team training. We have training twice a month. Now, I've eased up because typically I used to have team training every single Monday.
Okay.
And so this year I've eased up a little bit. And the reason why is because most of my agents are seasoned. So they don't have to have that every week accountability. So now we do have twice a month. And then there's expectations of you know, putting themselves in front of clients, whether it's holding so many open houses or, you know, events and things like that. So, yeah.
Are you tracking real estate conversations? Like how many or how, what kind of activity level are you asking your agents to track and pay attention to?
Well, really, it depends on their personal goals.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're kind of tracking that. But for the most part, it's just the being out there. You know, they have to do 4 hours a month, whether it's open house or being in front, and they have to be at the trainings. So those are the things that we're really holding to.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for an agent just getting into the business?
So
You've gotten to, you know, a level that's top 1%, but within just a few years, you've done it fast. Most agents aren't going to be able to do that. How are you, what advice would you have for people to try to duplicate what you've done?
Absolutely. I think there's a couple things here. First of all, back to, you know, so like I'm a believer. You know, my favorite passage is Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good. So I believe that for my life. So from the military to the coaching to the ministry to what I'm doing now, it's all working for me, right? So a big part of that is authenticity. So you have to, first of all, know who you are and be true to who you are. If you're being true to who you are, then you're going to be able to identify what you need to do to be successful. So like, I can't tell you, go to the store and pass out 10 business cards in the grocery store, which is what I did when I was in the military station commander. Like, go to that mall and you pass out business cards and you don't come back here until you have at least 3 names and phone numbers. So that's what we used to do, craziness, right? But I still believe in that whole business card, pass out business card thing, right? So that's what, it works for me. Like, you will not be in a room with me or you will not make eye contact with me out in public for longer than 3 seconds without me making sure you know who I am.
Okay.
So that works for me, for my personality style, for everything. So what works for me works for me. So when I say embrace your authenticity, find out what works for you and then do it and be true to it. Because what I believe is that we all draw the people that are called to us. There are people out there who need to buy houses, who want to buy houses, and they're not going to work with me because I may be too strong, too whatever, right? But when you embrace who you are as an agent, you're going to draw those people. So you just have to embrace who you are, figure out what works for you, keep trying, don't give up. It's going to take some time, but do it and do it consistently. Like one of the things with me and my billboards and my bench, my bus bench. People are like, why are you doing it? You spend so much money. It works for me. Like, don't let anybody tell you what to do. Just figure out what works for you. Same thing. Like, I have a story that's it's really funny. I do training at Tucker and I tell them the story. I like marketing, right? I like promoting myself, right? I like people being able to see my brand. And so I would drive through Starbucks, and on this little wall, there was always like a dental advertisement. And I'm like sitting in Starbucks thinking, man, I would love my advertisement to be here. They need to know who I am. So I would go into Starbucks several times and say, hey, I'm still waiting for the manager to let me know when can I put my information there. And I would always get the runaround, or they were too busy or whatever. So I'm okay, that's fine. Then the opportunity came because that was my vision. So what happened was I had an opportunity to do a billboard, and it was like, okay, that's going to cost some money. Like, this is going to be a walk of faith for me.
Yes.
But guess what? I did it. And when I did it, so that little advertisement right there is right here. But now my billboard is right here. So when you go to that same Starbucks, everyone who works there, everyone who comes through, and everyone who drives down that street, they see my billboard. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to go for what you want. Like, and sometimes your vision is too small. That little area was too small, right? I would have been limited to the people who were coming through the drive-through. But when I got that billboard up there, it broadened me up. And so, I stepped out of there. Okay, then I get business from that billboard. I do. But I did me.
Yeah.
I did what works for me and what made sense for me. And I think you have to be crazy creative, and you really have to be open to yourself to say, what do I want to try that other people are not trying? And then you just have to go for it.
You talked about knowing who you are as an agent. Who are you as an agent?
Wow. So I am someone who, as an agent, I'm someone who driven. I communicate effectively to not only my clients, but also to the agents.
So important.
That's extremely important. That is a deal breaker, right? I'm compassionate. I'm compassionate for my clients, right? And I also have this motherly thing that I do because I have a lot of first-time home buyers, and I treat them as I would treat my own family. Like, I have a client right now. They're a cutest little couple. They love the house, but they were like when we did our buyer's inspection response, there's like the buyer's inspection response and 3 addendums. There was so much stuff. And I'm not extra like that. I make sure that we focus, but it had so many things going on with it. Long story short is there were a lot of things there that were very, very major defects.
Okay.
But they still want it. And I'm sitting here like, guys, I'm like, so.
What happened?
Well, we're still in it.
Okay.
We're still in it right now. And so I want them to get their parents involved, because I see it coming. I see they're here 6 months down the line. The roof is not, is messed up. The HVAC is not working. There's, issues.
6 or so years in, how is your business starting to evolve from maybe when you first started, it was even a higher percentage of first-time home buyers, but is it becoming more listings? Is it becoming
absolutely
repeat business? Obviously referrals.
Yes. Thank God for the repeat business. Yeah. So I'm finally getting to that point to where I'm getting now the repeat business. I've always had a high referral. That's my biggest. And so you probably wonder, why are you freaking out a billboard if you get all this referral business? Because I want to.
Well, and also there's nothing wrong with building your brand.
That's right. And it's
your
bringing
brand
in
is your business, and you are your brand. And
yeah.
Social media, in my opinion, social media is like a mini electronic billboard.
Okay.
It's the same thing. So how are you using social media?
The same.
Okay.
Same. Yeah. I just, I post, when I close, when I get an accepted, I just make sure that everyone on social media knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
To make sure I stay relevant. And so, but social media is working pretty well.
So going back, I was thinking about, Indianapolis kind of being a little bit like Iowa. A little, I mean, there's a lot of corn in both places.
A lot of corn.
But so, you said you had a single parent or single family parent household. And so, tell me about Was it your mom or your dad?
My mom.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad was around, but I live with my mom. Yeah. So he was absolutely in my life.
And so, is she still alive?
Yes.
Okay. So, how proud
Oh my
you?
God.
Well, you did say that, you told me about her. You called her during basic. And what does she think about real estate and what you've done for
She
yourself?
keeps telling me I need to find her a job. Like,
Where does she live right now?
she lives here. That's the only reason why I'm still here.
Okay. Okay. Well, where would you go if she wasn't?
South.
Yeah. You said you like
South.
Alabama.
Yeah. North Carolina, I thought about Texas, but no, probably not. But North Carolina, I'm ready for the warm weather. I've been in this type of weather like all my life, especially Iowa is even worse.
Yeah.
But so she's here and I moved her here. And when her health was failing a little bit, moved her here. And so she's like, so when I got divorced, I was like, Mom, no need to stay here. Let's go. I am not moving again. So she's why I'm still here. She's not going.
Well, she has to be very proud.
She is.
And you said your dad had been in the military, so that was kind of a reason why you maybe went down that path.
Yeah.
One thing I'm liking to ask a lot of my guests, if I remember to, I forgot a couple of times. It's really annoying me that I forgot. But what kind of music do you listen to?
I do. Of course, I listen to gospel music, smooth jazz. I like a lot of old school.
Me too.
Yeah,
Old school music.
And that was a thing too. When I said really learning myself, like I never knew how much I loved music until I retired from the military and had more exposure to it. And so, yeah, learning what you love, because it's interesting, because as life goes on, things evolve, things change. And that's why relationships and marriages change. And that's something that I want to make sure that I say to those agents, those realtors who are watching, make sure you keep balance, maintain those balance, keep the main thing. And I ended up getting divorced, I think my second year. When I went into my second year of real estate is when I got divorced, and I have been married 25 years.
Oh,
it's a long time to be married. And I'm not saying that we got divorced because of real estate, but it surely didn't help.
Okay.
Right. And so you have to make sure that you guard and protect those things that are important, like family, whether it's kids, because, and that's one of the things I share with my agents. I'm like, guys, you got to have balance. And I think that's one reason why I'm okay with having part-timers, because to a certain extent, they come in with a little bit of balance, because it's easy to get out here and just kill the game. And now you're 100% focused on that. And so I have a new agent with me now, and she's like 4 open houses a weekend and every weekend. And I'm like, let's reel this in, because you have a whole husband, you're married, and he may not be saying anything right now, but he needs his wife to be his wife. So we're going to have some balance there.
I saw it was a Jeff Bezos quote recently, or maybe it was a little interview I was watching. And he was talking about how he prefers, instead of work-life balance, work-life harmony, meaning it might not necessarily be balanced for it to be harmonious, like depending on the situation. Like, he's obviously a workaholic, and maybe that's the way he tells himself that, maybe he prefers harmony because it's rationalization of him being a workaholic. I don't know. But somewhere in between, there's probably the truth.
That works for him.
Yeah. So what's going to happen with real estate for you here in 2025 that's different than 2024? Rhonda Cooper was here sitting down with me before. We talked about the NAR settlement being, the big thing in 2024. I guess I'll get your thoughts on how you led your team through that disruption.
Yeah. One thing that I really commend FC Tucker on is training. So we do not lack training. So they prepared us before it even came official, and things in the dialogue and things like that. So I in turn prepared the team, and we honestly have not had any issues. Now I did just get an offer accepted last night, and they're like, yeah, the seller only wants to do 2.5%. So, but typically I've not had an issue with it. The sellers that I've been working with are okay with paying,
right,
and not, so it hadn't been a major disruptor. It's helped actually, because I do like the fact that now before anyone can see a house, they have to have buyer's representation. I like that.
Yeah, it's worked out.
Mhm.
I was hopeful that things wouldn't really change that much, and at the end of the day, I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Having the buyer sign an agreement the way a seller would sign a listing agreement, I think that's worked out really well. And then you determining your own worth,
Yeah.
your value, not what the listing agent perceives your value to be or what is
Absolutely.
being offered, but it's you determining it. Right? Yeah, it's worked out really well, I think, and it's probably been a win-win-win for all parties involved.
I think so. I think so. It makes you have to really communicate your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
that's the hurdle that didn't used to have to be cleared in a way more specifically it does.
Right. Absolutely. But 2025, I think for me personally, I want to get more relational
Okay.
because I've been very transactional
With
with my clients.
your clients.
Yeah. Because I've, I started off, like I said, year one, when it blew up, it blew up. Like it was crazy. Client after client, and it was a true blessing. But the downside of that is that I was not forced to maintain those relationships. Right? So you have your CRM, you try to reach out, but I was going so fast, like that was not a priority because I was on to the next client, on to the next client. And so I want to make sure that that's different. And I have been working on that, but even more so because I have been blessed to be in relationship and partnership with a lot of people, much more than the average agent. I mean, like typically, like right now, I think we're at 66 transactions this year.
Congrats.
I mean, last year, like we're like 85. So that's a lot of touches. That's a lot of people. Like you shouldn't have to do not one billboard, nothing.
Right.
Right. Just by, having relationships. So I'm looking forward to our client appreciation party. We're going to have one, here next month. And so I'm just looking at doing some more things to really continue to foster relationships with my past and my current clients.
I think there's a lot of newer agents that in the beginning, oftentimes they are a little bit more transactional than relational, particularly if they have stuff happening quickly. And then you get to a point where you realize I have poured my blood, sweat, and tears into these folks. And I have to make sure that these aren't past clients. These are forever clients.
Yeah. And that's easy. And that goes back to the personality, style. These are not the most relational people.
Right.
We're more task driven. It's not that we don't love people. It's not that we don't care about them. It's just that we're focused and we're task oriented and we want to get the job done. And we can work a little bit more on that relational aspect of it.
Well, like you said, that life coaching that you've done and finding your authentic self and then, finding the best way to work within that.
Yeah. It's still work though.
Yeah, it's still work.
It's a lot of work because you find your authentic self, then you find ways that you can be better.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
See, that's the work.
Yeah.
That's the
I have to work on this and to work on that because that's cool, but that's cool in this environment or in this, site, but that's not cool over here. So being able to manage that, properly, I think is extremely important.
Timeko, it's been a real pleasure sitting down with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.